Hello, learners. Welcoming all of you once again to this session of managing of human resources. In the bygone session, we delved and looked at the human resource planning aspect, recruitment, selection, job analysis. And today's session, we would be dealing, and discussing about placement and induction. If you were an candidate and at the end and once you have been interviewed and you come out from the boardroom, or you come out of the building with a cheer and a laughter on the face and say that I'm placed, what a pleasant feeling you will not have, and what a emotional situation it won't be when you say that I'm placed and all. But what is placement all about, and what is the thing with the cream above placement and all, which makes one a candidate, a gateway to move forward and do well in the organization? So let's see what is placement all about. Placement is like once an offer of employment has been extended and accepted. It is like the employment which has been extended to a prospective candidate who's got selected in the interview, who has passed through the recruitment and selection process, and he accepts the offer letter. Now, second thing is placement of the individual on the new job and orienting him to the organization. Placement doesn't do with, it's just a entry pass or entry level to an organization, but the real process begins post placement, which is the orientation session. In placement, the employee is generally put on a probation for period. It could range from 6 months to 1 year. Different companies have different probation periods, and an employee who gets selected may be in probation for either for 6 months or 1 year. Generally, in the probation period, once the period of probation ends in 6 months, or depending on the company's policy, it's 1 year, the prospective employee gets recruited within the organization, and his probation is confirmed. His confirmation is done. But in rare cases, when a candidate has behavioral issues, or is unable to grasp the things, or is unable to perform to the best of his capability to the need and requirements of the organizations, or unable to fit and gel with the team, a counseling session does happen, but it ends up with either extending his confirmation, or we ask him to look for better opportunities and all. So only when something is very serious against a candidate, we find him guilty of continued negligence in the performance of his duties, then and only then the confirmation is extended and all. Now, how do you define placement? Please listen to it carefully. Placement is defined as the determination of the job to which an accepted candidate is to be assigned, and his assignment to that job. It is matching of what the supervisor has reason to think he can do, which the job demands, job requirements. It is a matching of what he deserves as trained working conditions, championship with others, promotional possibilities. A proper placement of a worker reduces employee turnover, absenteeism, and accident rates, and improves morale. I repeat, placement is defined as the determination of the job to which an accepted candidate is to be assigned, and his assignment to that job. It is matching of what the supervisor has reason to think he can do, which the government demands, that is his job requirements. It is matching of what he deserves as trained working conditions, championship with others, promotional possibilities, etc. A proper placement of a worker reduces employee turnover, absenteeism, and accident rates, and improves morale. A proper placement of worker reduces, I repeat, employee turnover, absenteeism, accident rates, and improves morale. This is a sentence, but it holds a very meaningful information for the simple reason I, being a candidate, I approach a job with my own merits and demerits. And if I'm very clear that my merit is such, I'm going to suit a publishing organization or I'm going to suit a institute, and I make way and I do my best. So definitely my turnover would increase, absenteeism would reduce, my output would certainly go to leaps and bounds. I would will be less prone to accidents as I would be focused in my job and approach, and I would always be motivated and set example for others. So it is very important. Placement, the word placement do play a very important role, and it is a gateway to the company. It's the first stage which begins with the placement of the candidates and all. Now moving on, now we'll look at the process, or what do we call is the orientation or the induction program. What is orientation? The process of teaching a person or group to accept a set of beliefs uncritical. Indoctrinate. The action of orienting someone or something relative to the points of a compass or other specified positions. A person's basic attitude, beliefs, or feelings in relation to a particular subject or issue. The process or action of bringing about or giving rise to something. The action or process of inducting someone to a post of organization. I repeat, the action or process of inducting someone to a post or organization. The process or action of bringing about or giving rise to something. The person's basic attitude, belief, or feelings in relation to a particular subject or issue. The action of orienting someone or something relative to the points of a compass or other specified positions. And the process of teaching a person or group to accept a set of beliefs uncritically. What are the objectives of induction? Induction is very important for the simple reason a person may have the first day in office that would comprise of hours, minutes, further subdivided into fraction of seconds and all. The way we make way for a newcomer, the way we accommodate him, the way we listen to him, the way we give respect to his thinking, how we accept him or make a way, make a space for him in our team, plays a very vital role. And that all set and done is the process of induction. A newcomer certainly joins a company, but he is always a stranger to the people, the workplace and environment. The person may feel insecure, he may be shy, and he may be nervous too. And induction certainly leads to reduce his or her anxiety. It dispels the irritational fears of the present employees and hold colleagues responsible for assisting the newcomer so that he may feel confident. There is another reason for effective induction, that is, it helps minimize what might be called the reality shock some new employees undergo. This reality shock is caused by the incompatibility between the employees' expectation in their new jobs and the realities which they confront with. And reality shock happens when when certain points are not met. Suppose a candidate comes and he is of the mindset of a lucrative salary. He is not clear about the salary structure, and at the end of the day, at the end of the month, when he sees his pay slip, then there is the gap, there is a vacuum in what he has thought and what he is getting. Now certain employees, they come They are very, very creative, and they come with the organization to have their own say, to have their own niche, to have to create a own benchmark for themselves, to create a feeling of, I should be looked at this, I should be looked at that. But a company and organization is always based on teamwork, and how he adjusts to the team is very, very important. Some employees and candidates, they feel that we need to take challenge every day and we need to be adventurous in our jobs. So that iota of doubt, that idea has to be properly answered in the induction session. Then opportunities to use special aptitudes and educational background. Responsibility. Some candidates think they are, from day one they are going to be responsible. They feel more and more, they feel that they have to behave as a manager. But induction tells you what is expected out of you, where you fit, what are the tasks, roles, jobs and responsibilities which you need to do on a day-to-day basis, and what is your output at the end of the day to the team. Opportunity for advancement. Some candidates feel that growth in the organization or growth in the ladder is within a fraction of seconds, but that is not the case. That is not the reality. It's always your probation, which goes on for 6 months to 1 year. Post confirmation from your line manager, HR department, the real process again begins, where you are again assessed and your analysis, performance analysis, appraisal is done after a year, and then you start advancing in the hierarchy. Social status and prestige, the feeling of doing something important and recognition of this by others. These are certain points which a new entrant comes with a mindset when he joins a company, and the induction must answer the same. What is the objective of induction? Orientation can help overcome this problem by providing for more realistic expectations on part of new employees and more understanding on part of the supervisors. The purpose of induction has always been to introduce the new employee and the organization to each other, to help them become acquainted and to help them accommodate each other. What is the induction procedure? There are 6 steps in induction procedure, and we will look at one after the other. Step 1. Words of welcome. Words of welcome. Definitely, when a person is inducted and it's his first day in the organization, it is the responsibility of the HR and the responsibility of the line manager or the reporting manager to use good words of welcome for him with his experience and with his achievements which he has done in the past organization, touching upon the lighter aspects like his hobbies, his special talents and all. Then explain overall department, organization and in relationship to the other activities of the company. Moving forward, explain employee's individual contribution to the objectives of the department and his starting assignment in broad terms. Step 2 would be discuss the job content with employee and give him a copy of job description and key responsible areas. It is very, very important. In a normal organization culture, at the time of performance appraisal, when the employees sit with the managers, they say, we are not aware of our key responsible areas. So it is the responsibility of the HR department or the manager, basically the HR manager, at the time of joining, a key responsible copy must be given to the employee where he reads and signs, and from day one he works in the same direction. Otherwise, there is a deviation at the end of the year when the performance appraisal cycle begins. We need to explain departmental training programs, and salary increase practices and procedures. Like every fortnight, there is going to be a presentation. There is the SWOT analysis which needs to be done. There is a projection of the best employee. There is a projection of how you get the work done within the minimal time. What is the basis on which the salary will be increased, and practices and procedures. Discuss with the employee about the leaves and transportation facilities. Leaves are very important when the employee must be clearly aware about the half day, the second Saturday concept, the leaves, the annual leaves, the paternal leaves, the maternal leaves, and also the transportation facilities which he or she must be aware of to avail the benefits and all. Explain the working conditions. This is very important. The employee, the new inductee who joins the organization, must be made aware of the number of hours of work he or she has to put on a daily basis. Coming in, what are the registers he or she has to sign, give a declaration of what or she is carrying, to keep the mobile phones in the lockers, to have his or her own locker where to keep valuables and important items, and the hours of work, the hours of breaks. In working conditions, we also have the employee giving importance and to be made familiar with the employee entrance and exit ways, the lunch hours, tea, coffee breaks, personal telephone calls and mails, overtime policy and requirements, pay days procedure of being paid, then the lockers which are allotted to the new inductee, and safety habits and security regulation and all. The employee must also be made aware of the cafeteria, the first aid which is available, and other benefits which are available or provided by the organization for his or her own recreation and comfort. Because there is a very old saying which goes, all the work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. So where there is recreation, there is creativity too. Going on to step 4, requirement for continuance of employment and explain standards as to performance of duties, attendance and punctuality. When there is performance of duties, the signing of key responsible areas and discussing with him or her makes him familiar with what duties he or she has to perform. Attendance and punctuality. If there is no attendance punch in and punch out, there are no finger marks, on the second or third day there will be a deduction which we have to tell the new entrant at the time of joining. We also have to tell him that please discuss with your line manager or your managers and reporting bosses and keep them informed 1 or 2 weeks ahead of your long leaves or your leaves. Because if you find the unit is in Chennai and the person is from Dehradun or from Mumbai, definitely he would like to go back to his native place for a week or 10 days, and for that he has to plan in advance so that in turn the line manager, the HRs fill his position with someone who can come and cater to the work. Behavior. It is very important. The new inductee who joins the organization should be of positive attitude. He must be accommodative. He must give respect to differences. He must flow with the flow of the company. He must be very humble and he must respect differences. He must also be explained about the standards of the company in terms of the uniform which he has to put on a day-to-day basis and his general appearance and all. Step 5 would focus on introducing our new staff member to the managers and other supervisors. The employee must be made to visit each and every department and the department heads to make familiar with the organization. The placement of washrooms, the placement of parking area, the placement of cafeteria, the timings, the way, everything must be made clear to him or her. And special attention should be paid to the person whom the new employee will be assigned. And the last step we would see is the new inductee, the employee to the immediate supervisor, who will introduce him or her to his fellow workers or to the team, familiarize him or her with the workplace, and begin the on-the-job training. Not only that, there are a few techniques of induction programs, which are the general orientation, the specific orientation, and follow-up orientation. Another thing which goes without saying is, in a induction and orientation program, it should be a very communicated and two-way interactive session, in the sense the new inductee, whether he might be from any place on the planet Earth, but he should open up and he should talk to his or her reporting bosses of the team to get a familiarity to and clear all his doubts, so that he would move in a very focused and a clear way. But there are some techniques of induction which follow, like the general, specific, and follow-up orientation. The general orientation. General orientation, from the name itself, it's very clear that it will be done by the HR department. This induction provides general information about the history and operations of the firm. The person is given the code of conduct. The code of conduct will include the behavioral policy, the harassment policy, the leaves, then his way of approach, his way of conduct on day-to-day life, hours of work, everything. The new employee has to go through each and every point, sign and give it back to the HR department, and he has to fill the application blank with all the necessary details, so that a reference check is conducted for the concerned employee. Now, the specific orientation. The specific orientation is conducted generally by the job supervisor. Specific, as the name says, for which task or which team or which work the employee is hired in the organization. It is always specific in nature and requires skill set on part of the foreman, the department and his place of work, introduction to other employees, mission, vision and objectives shared, and organization specific practices and customs are shared with the employee. The follow-up induction. The follow-up induction takes place within 1 week to 6 months from time of initial hiring. Generally, once a new entrant joins the company and all, we take follow-up and we take ideas from old employees. But in a case like the new inductee, there is always a follow-up induction, so that to erase any sort of difficulty, any sort of doubt, make him or her more comfortable in their way of approach and way of going and making it to the company. So it is very, very important that after every month, suppose the probation is for 6 months, so after every month we take a fortnight when the HR or the line manager or the reporting manager meets the new inductee, it's very important to take a follow-up induction. Now, the second thing which will follow is which can be conducted either by a foreman or a specialist. What are the ways to talk? It can be very formal or informal, which is outside the company at the time of travel back home. The new joinee can express his or her feelings to the reporting manager or the line manager. Then he can seek guidance and counseling in case he is erring somewhere. and what efforts are made to remove these difficulties experienced by the newcomer. So we are almost through with the placement and induction program of the new entrant and all. I will just repeat that placement is a gateway to an organization. It is a path to an organization, but the whole crux or the whole plethora of going forward for an employee would depend on the orientation program. And orientation, today we read about the challenges, the purpose, then the steps, the 6 steps of induction procedure, and the techniques of induction programs, which were the general orientation, specific orientation, and follow-up orientation. So as managers and as candidates, it is very, very important that we know each other and give space to each other. What happens in an organizational setup is there is a blockage in the mind where we are unable to respect differences and we go our own ways, we take a U-turn and that will never make any team to be successful. It is always respecting differences and going in line with the objective of the organization, which makes a company fruitful and the results are fruitful. So thank you, learners. We have come to the end of the session, and in the next session we will be coming up with new topics in the HR recruitment process, and we will be meeting soon. Thank you.